Today I'm going to be making bread dough, and I'm just going to show you how much flour to put in the bread dough until it reaches a good consistency for a loaf pan of bread dough. And I have my bread recipe in my mixer, and you can tell that the liquid is on the bottom and the flour with the yeast on the very top. And that's how I do all of my bread doughs, with the yeast on the top. So I'm just going to start the mixer and let it start mixing. I have about half the flour that the recipe calls for in the mixer right now, and I'll be adding more as it mixes until it reaches a good bread consistency. From the sides of the bowl now. That means I have just about the right amount of flour that I need for bread dough. So once I reach this point, I'm just going to let the mixture mix for about 6 minutes until I make my bread loaves out of it. Okay, the bread dough mixed for 6 minutes, and I pulled it out, and I just wanted you to get an idea of the texture of this dough now that it's been mixed. I've oiled my hands, and it's very sticky still, but you can tell that it's still sticking together very well. The texture is elastic, and it's sticking together. I've oiled the counter as well. That's why it's not sticking to the counter, but it's very sticky dough, but it is still holding its shape, and it's elastic together. And that's how you want the bread dough after it's been mixed, sticky but elastic. And then I can form my loaves out of this bread dough, and I'm going to put them in these loaf pans here, the glass. I like to use glass loaf pans for the most part. And so I'm just going to form my loaves, and then I will have fresh bread in just a little bit of time. Okay, now I've formed the bread loaves, and so they're going to be rising in the pan. And I'm going to let them rise until they're double in size. And just so you get an idea of what double means, I can stick another loaf on top, and then you can kind of see how much you want them raised until they're double. And when they're double, then then it's time to bake them. So, okay, while the bread is rising, I like to put a really thin dishcloth over them. These are the cotton, very thin dishcloths, and that just still lets the bread breathe underneath, but keeps it from drying out, and that usually works the best for moist and yummy bread. Okay, it's been about 20 minutes and you can see that the bread loaves have risen to double now. They've filled the bread pans. This is about the size that you need them for bread dough. One thing I need to mention is that you don't need to let the bread dough rise twice using this method. It only needs to rise once in the pans. You don't have to let it rise in the bowl first, and it works just fine. So now they're ready to bake. I'm going to bake these at 400 degrees for 5 minutes and then turn down the temperature to 350 and bake them for 25 minutes. Okay, I just pulled the bread out of the oven. You can see it's perfectly done, well risen, golden brown on top, just right for how you want your bread loaves to be. So thank you for joining me on Healthy Family Cooking, and have a great day.